Hello everybody, welcome to Planet FPL, the world where everything revolves around Fantasy Premier League. My name's Such.
And my name is James.
It's Monday.
Well done.
Days away from Christmas, mate. 12, 13 days.
Humbug.
This time in 2 weeks, we will be, well, it'll be 9:30 in the morning, so I'll probably just be waking up and arguing with the children about whether or not they're allowed to open all their presents straight away or whether they should pace them throughout the day. What are you? Like, if you got 4 or 5 presents, let's say, are you one that in the morning you just want to open all your shit, or are you one that wants to space it out throughout the day?
I'm nearly 40. I don't give a shit.
No, I know, but like when you were a kid, let's say, or if Harry was to say to you, right, okay, say Harry's got 5 presents and he said,
no chance that boy's waiting.
No, okay, he's going to rip them all open. Mine are a mixture. Sometimes they're like, oh, okay, then they'll start with the small ones, then they'll open one bigger box, and then whatever. Not that they get like tons, but it's all good. Christmas, yeah, 2 weeks away, mate. But FPL weekend.
Dramatic.
I was hugely tuned out of the weekend, really, because I felt like my transfer at the beginning of the weekend was pretty boring. And then I didn't bother going on x.com because I didn't care. And then there was lots of news and circulation that I kind of just passed me by and I've sort of missed. Yesterday, we'll talk about in a second, was the FPL Juice tournament.
Campeones.
Yes, indeed. So that started at, I was there from 2:30. Ouch, dentist o'clock. And then as a result, couldn't see any of the games. But obviously we've got Power League, who are a football pitches company who don't have Sky Sports in the bar. So the only sports that were showing in the bar was rugby. Like Leicester versus Harlequins or something. I don't know what it was. They weren't showing the football, so didn't see any of the games yesterday because we were busy playing in the tournament, mate. So
well, don't worry,
I understand so far from what you've told me. So I missed Haaland was out. Fine, Salah captain, not a problem for me.
Yeah, for you.
But then that news didn't come in the press conference or anything. Was that just like late drops news? It's kind of is the question now: are pressers just irrelevant?
Well, maybe, because I think Pep said after the game last night that after Villa he couldn't walk. So, but also
I know people that triple captained him.
Also, yes, I've seen that.
And it's not okay. It's not fair, but it just feels a bit harsh. Where if you'd had the information, you wouldn't do something like that. So I feel for people that happened to. I mean, look, it's the game; it can happen to anyone anytime.
Well,
but
there's lots of people. Listen, one of the big questions I was getting on my deadline stream Saturday morning was: is it worth a -8 to get him back? My general take was: you've got a decent captaincy this week. I don't know if, but it was like borderline. You know, is he worth a -8 to get back and captain him for Luton and Crystal Palace? You're like you're thinking. I was talking about think about the outcome. You think, well, if he goes mad against Luton, then you're chasing it for Crystal Palace anyway. So there'll definitely be people who have done that. There's vice captaincy hard luck stories, no doubt, going around as well. Saka.
Okay.
And to be honest, it was interesting. I had it on Alvarez most of the week, and I thought, do you know what? Kenilworth Road, what if like it gets really cold or it rains or something? Instead of having captain and vice captain from the same game on the Sunday.
Yeah.
So looking
and it's a tough place, Kenilworth Road.
Looking at my other options, it's like Sonny, flagged, don't know if he's going to play. Darwin Núñez probably plays, but there's an element of risk there. Saka, I think there'll be goals in Villa Arsenal. There weren't many. Fine, I'll just stick it on Saka. That was my take.
I
didn't think for a second Fulham wasn't going to play, right?
No, no one did. This is on Saturday as well. So
Andy Martin told everyone for weeks that he wouldn't play. Morning, Andy.
I ended up on 44 points, which is not great. It was a red arrow, but barely 30, 40k places, so called it grey. And I only had 2 returnees, which was Mo Salah as captain with the vice armband and an assist from Julian Alvarez. I had no other returns. So Dubravka came on for Areola for me, which was always the plan. But actually, Dubravka conceded less than Areola somehow. I don't know. Between the two of my goalkeepers, they conceded 9 goals.
Areola didn't play.
Yeah, okay, fair play. West Ham and Newcastle, if you know what I mean. Had Areola played, I don't know if we'd have conceded 5, to be honest. Gabriel and Shimikas, just 2 pointers. Trippier's now on -1. Is he 5 yellows, is he?
Yep.
So he'll miss a game.
Suspended.
Who they got next?
Fulham at home.
Fulham scored 15 goals in November, so maybe that's a good thing. Since November, I think. Foden, Souček, Palmer, Diaby, Ollie Watkins. Nothing between any of them. So, and my bench Imagine if I bench boost Areola 0, Haaland 0, Matt Cash 1, and Lascelles doing his best to cancel Matt Cash's 1 with a -1. So 0 on my bench, James. Bad week.
I can't believe you've
Bad
had...
week.
And I don't even want to call it jam, right? Because those have got...
No,
it
was a toss-up between Salah captain anyway.
Well, no, but anyone who's got Haaland and Salah, largely not anyone, but the majority of people who got Haaland and Salah would have Salah as vice-captain. And that's what it's for. We've said that so many times before, that if shit happens, that's what the vice-captainship is for. I cannot believe that that's happened and I've outscored you, though.
Yeah. And, okay. That's not true. The sentence...
Well, no, it is true.
The full sentence is... I cannot believe that's happened, and I've outscored you because of Spurs' defence. That's the full sentence, James. How is it Udogie and Porro are the saviours? And if there wasn't a 91 goal, it would have been considerably more as well.
Yeah, Pierre-Emile Højbjerg has ruined a lot of things for me.
Is it Udogie and Porro coming up trumps when you've got Newcastle?
It's cost me 9 points, that goal.
It's got you to as many points as they got you, mate.
No, the Newcastle goal cost me 9 points.
But those two got you like 20 points between them, maybe? Something like that?
14 between Porro and Udogie, 17 Heung-Min Son.
Yeah, so Spurs coming up trumps for you at the weekend, so there you go.
Listen, I went into the Tottenham game yesterday on 23 points. And finished on 54.
Mental.
Touch.
Mental.
We'll take it.
And you take that, like, that's the same as the Salah vice-captaincy. Like Spurs could have won 4 and you could have had nothing, right? 4-1, sorry, and it could have all been Kulusevski or Richarlison or whoever else. Although Richie did all right.
Our Pedro Porro's walked out of that with only 5. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, even the final goal, he puts from a number 10 position, he puts Sonny through 1-on-1. Sonny takes this horrendous touch, and because he takes a horrendous touch, he ends up with a penalty. So Porro don't get an assist for that. So, I mean, I've been saying this 18-pointer is going to be coming for Porro for some time. That was nearly it yesterday. Mm-hmm. So if you think about if that had been an assist and then you get the clean sheet, that's probably what it'd be for him. So,
tell me your flags then. Why have you wildcarded?
So wildcard is Saturday night because a number of problems came up during the course of the day. So I knew Sonny was obviously a major doubt. We didn't have the information. For me, it was generally a hold, but I had considered obviously removing him. The laughable bit for me is if I'd have removed, the one I was looking at was Son to Salah, and it would have been, I think, Martinelli to Garnacho. Then I'd have carried Bumo through. So the way it worked out, even if I'd have ended up, if I hadn't made the move and I'd have gone Salah,
you'd have vice-captained him.
I'd have obviously vice-captained him. I'd have only ended up 2 points better off.
Yeah, I was thinking because Sonny's 17
I'd
points
have had
big.
Lascelles come in for a -1 as well. That's all, and I would have had no Pedro Porro. So
Haaland flagged.
Haaland flagged, obviously. Sam Johnston, obviously injured.
Okay.
Gone off injured against Liverpool, and you could say, well, yeah, it's Man City away. You're quite right, but I kind of come to the conclusion, just leave that rather than be taking hits for it. We'll scramble through to game week 19. You can say, oh, Matt Turner came back in the team for Nottingham Forest, but I have no idea whether that's going to last this week or not. Leon Bailey, hobbling through the majority of the first half of Villa against Arsenal. Exactly what you said. Doner kebab transfer, mate. Because after 6 minutes, it looked magnificent. And I was like, oh, my God. To be honest, me and my dad, I watched the game with my dad. We spent most of the first opening quarter of an hour talking about him and how lively and how well he is playing at the moment. And do you know what? If he gets the thumbs up for the weekend, he might even end up staying on the wild card. But I knew it was going to be too many problems where suddenly it was like, I can see next week becoming like -8, -12 territory.
Yeah, well, 18 you mean, specifically?
No, for this week, for game week 17
okay,
with
fine.
the problems. And because as well, I've got a number of players on 4 yellows. So Doggy, Matty Cash is obviously just a problem anyway. Jamal Lascelles obviously got booked yesterday onto 4 yellows as well. So suddenly for me, it was like, right, I've just got too many problems here. Let's take a step back and ask ourselves, let's have a look at a wild card. What would that wild card be in game week 19? What would the wild card be now? Is it a million miles away? Well, I can't give you a definitive answer because if Haaland gets the thumbs up for the weekend, he's still coming with me. If he gets the thumbs down, then he's coming out. So I need to strategize and look at 2 completely different plans in terms of what I want to do from that perspective. I also had a number of players that I knew I was going to want who were going up in value, one of which was Robert Sanchez. He's now injured as well. But but Solanke, Salah was close, Ollie Watkins, Anthony Gordon. There was a load of players I knew I was probably going to want on the wild card who were going up Saturday night, and it was just a combination of so many things, looking at 17 versus 19 and going, do you know what, this isn't going to be far away, particularly if Haaland was out. Let's go. Let's get it done. Rather than just be, for the next 2 weeks, just trying to fight to get to like good Newcastle, Villa, Tottenham players. Let's rejig this now. Let's get the right players in. You know, things that I can do now, like go, let's deal with the Matty Cash shit. Right, stick Pau Torres in. Got him on the value as well. That's a good long-term hold for me. And just fix shit all round. So I decided to pull it.
Fair play, James. The only frustration, but also an advantage for you this week, actually it's an advantage, is obviously international European football, which is kind of international because it's cross-country. European football this week, so you with the wildcard can respond to any injuries or anything that happens midweek, whereas a lot of people not on wildcard can't. But also it might fuck up your wildcard plans because players you might want suddenly can get crocked and injured. There's obviously a few teams with games that matter. So Newcastle, their game matters. Yep. West Ham's game matters. City and Arsenal, they're kind of
done. Man
United matters.
Yeah, well, I obviously want trouble Man United going to Liverpool on wildcard, don't I?
And obviously Brighton Villa.
Brighton and Villa have got to get points to win their groups. I think
us.
Villa have. Brighton definitely have.
Yeah, and then Liverpool are through sailing, so they're fine as well. So there's plenty of, amongst Brighton, Villa, West Ham, and Newcastle. I mean, they're all teams that play in 18. We're going to want a bit of interest, so it's worth keeping your ears to the ground and see what happens with these fixtures because they all do matter. It's the last group stage game for all the European teams. We're going to talk about the games that have happened, James. Should we talk about real football first? Like real football as in not us standing in the stands watching, but actually lacing up boots.
Can I talk about the fact I got 54 points?
Oh, okay, go on. You didn't even tell us. You told us Sonny's, Pedro Porro and Udogi. There was nothing else to tell.
Yeah, I got an assist for Alvarez.
So did we all.
Okay, go ahead.
So did we all. It's 28.7% ownership, Alvarez. I've got no value in Haaland as well. I thought he might have gone up, come down, come down.
The problem with
he makes him an easy sell.
The problem with Haaland is he needs about 1.5 million transfers out to lose price. Because the ownership's so massive in the first place anyway, right? Don't rush your decision now is the best advice I can give people. And I think, you know, what you're saying with the European fixtures, like I was saying even last week, one of the last things I said on my stream Saturday was like, don't buy Newcastle players early this week. Like, it'll be tempting with like Fulham, Luton next coming up and Nottingham Forest afterwards. You've got to wait through Wednesday. And obviously, you know, Trips is now suspended this weekend, which you think, well, that makes definitely Livramento a lock, but it might be shattered by the time Saturday comes around. I could conceivably end up with no Newcastle.
Yep,
possible.
Indeed. Cool. Let's shout out to the boys at FPL Juice, shall we?
Yeah, brilliant. Well
James
done
and Ash and Nick, although Nick couldn't make it yesterday. He was unwell. So hopefully, Nick, my friend, you are on the mend and getting better. They organised a little inaugural five-a-side tournament yesterday. First one up in Mill Hill, down in North London. Obviously, Planet FPL, we took a team, we put together. There was a few of us in there.
I just realised you're wearing a medal as well.
I got the medal, mate. I got the medal.
That's so wanky that you've done that.
We came back with the trophy, James.
Well done.
It's
Did
home.
we deserve it?
Yes. Comfortably. So these boys organised this five-a-side tournament. There were 6 teams. There was us, Juice, Black Box.
Don't forget anyone.
Scout, Focal, and Graduates were the 6 teams. And it was everyone plays everyone. So 5 group stage games, little mini league, followed by semis, which were just random at a draw. And final. The semis and finals were 15 minutes, group stages.
Did we win the group as well?
I'll tell you, son.
All right.
Don't worry. So
it's going to be a long podcast, this.
Nah, it'll be rapid. But the twist was, James, they introduced chips.
Oh, I heard about it.
They introduced chips, just like FPL chips. So there was 4 chips that we could use.
I heard there was eat a cookie.
Half-baked, which when they gave us these like round chips, half-baked, I thought that someone's got to go and smoke a spliff or something because you could come back half-baked. Now, half-baked, which meant that you can only use these chips once in the whole tournament, not per game.
Okay.
You pick whoever you want from the opposition team. They got to run out, go and find Delia. You know, Delia, who mods for quite a few of the pods and stuff. She was somewhere in the bar or area. Find her. She'll give you a cookie. You got to eat the whole thing and then get back to the pitch, and then you're allowed to resume playing. That was one of the chips. Extra man, you get 6 instead of 5 for 5 minutes. Didn't see it, so you can call whatever it is that has just happened. You can play that chip and it's cancelled. So whether the team has scored a goal, got a penalty, man sent off, whatever it is, you didn't see it. And then the last one was next goal counts double, but it's whoever scores. So it's not just your next goal counts double. If the opposition score off a next goal counts double. Tell
me you used everything in the final.
We didn't use all our chips.
You didn't use them all?
We were left with next goal counts double in the final, and we still won. We only used 3 of our chips, mate.
Did you use them all in the final?
No. We didn't use the last one in the final. It was kind of pointless because the problem is, say you're winning 3-0. If you use the next goal counts double, they could get it back to 3-2 if they score the next goal. So you don't really want to necessarily play it unless you want to play it.
You're losing.
Yeah, exactly. And we were never losing in the semis and finals, and pretty much in all the group stages, we were never losing. The only group stage game we lost was because they played chips. So we would save them for the semis. And Focal's lot, we played in the semis. We played them in group and beat them. We played them in the semis. They'd saved all their 4 chips for us in the semis. It was quite amusing. But yeah, we started off with... so group stages, James, played 5... won 4, lost 1.
Nice.
To Scout. Who are cheats. Ed, happy birthday for yesterday, and Praz. Because it emerged after the game with us that James from Juice was not doing a very good job of keeping a tab of who'd used what chips, and they'd used the same chip twice, cheating bastards.
Whoa,
didn't see it.
That'd get you thrown out the FA Cup, lads.
Anyway, group stages, mate. We started off with Graduates, who everybody was quite worried about because being that they're young and fit, smashed them 6-0. So that was pretty straightforward. We then played Focal's lot. We beat them 2-1, used our first chip, which was a didn't see it. So they went 1-0 up. They went 2-0 up. I didn't see it. And then we came back and we won 2-1. So that worked out tactically quite well. So we beat Focal's lot quite comfortably. Then we played Scout in our 3rd group stage game.
I wonder if we review the Premier League games this
week.
We'll
get there. We lost 3-1 to Scout. They used a didn't see it on our goal to go 2-1 up. Which they'd already used, but no one fucking knew what was going on, so it was fine. And then they used the next goal counts double, so they went from 1-1 to 3-1 and 1, but fine, whatever. Beat Black Box comfortably, and then beat Juice comfortably. Went back to Focal's lot in the semis. They tried to play the extra man and send one of our fuckers off to go and eat cake, so it was 6v4 for 5 minutes. But halfway through the 5 minutes, I played our extra man and sent one of their fuckers off to go and eat cake. So we had an extra 2.5 minutes against them. Comfortably beat them, and then 5-0 up against Scout in the final. We let Sham's young lad, who's only 11, Zach, shout out, he'd come and join the Planet FPL team, have a little run around. So he went on for 2-3 minutes. Unfortunately, we conceded 2 goals when he was on. Poor lad was really sad, but I was explaining to him afterwards, don't worry, right? You're 11, we're running around. Just because we conceded 2 goals. We ended up winning 6-2. It's all right, mate. I was like, listen, you're still here. You're still getting the medal. You're still getting the trophy. You're still part of the team. John Terry didn't play a fucking minute in the Champions League final and still came off full kit wanker.
Did we lose this because we fielded an ineligible underage player? Or?
James was fine about this ineligible player. I did tell him, but for the fact that he's 11 years old. So we are now the inaugural FPL Juice 5-a-side team champions. Got to give a shout out to the team, yeah? So Sham, 2 guys, 1 cup. FPL, 2 guys, 1 cup in goal. We were blessed that we had the best team. There's no ifs and buts. We had the best players, of which I was not one. I was the wait till we're 3 or 4-0 up and give someone a 2-minute breather player. But, you know,
good
age
tactics.
Shows. Sham in goal. We were blessed. We were one of the only teams with a goalkeeper. Go on.
My tactics from afar were give Bruno the ball.
Yeah. Well, Bruno didn't turn up for the first 2 games because it took him 3.5, 4 hours. He got stuck on the M4, so he didn't turn up till halfway through the group stages. So we played the first 2 games, of which we won 6-0 and 3-1 or whatever, without him. But yes, so Sham in goal. We were the only team with a recognised goalkeeper, I would say. There was a couple in there, but yeah, so that clearly helps.
God, we should have done this at the end, Nico.
Yeah, mate. Yeah. Keith FPL. You know Keith FPL Brentford.
It's going to be a 3-hour podcast, this.
We got time. He is Rodri. he plays your role, mate. You know, like sits in, game in front of him, side to side, control it, snuff out danger. Keith FPL, legend. We had Bruno playing for Team South. Thierry Henry in disguise, fucking silky skills, slick, athletic. Elliot, who is on the Netflix new Squid Game live show. Go and check him out. I think he's number 421. Kevin De Bruyne in disguise, except I don't think Kevin De Bruyne has a cheeky fag in between each match and group stage. Kevin Darkwood downstairs doing accounts. Ghanaian under 21s. Yes, brother.
Ghanaian under 21.
He plays for Ghana under 21. I was telling Sim and everyone that Kevin had played for Ghana under 21s. And we had Sergei, who we got from the draft, a Russian friend, and he was silky slick as well. And then I made up the numbers. So well done, boys. We got the trophy. I think spring. They're going to redo it in spring, and we'll try and keep our squad together. The only addition, obviously, if you're available, because Tottenham aren't playing, you're welcome to join the squad. But we'll try and keep our squad together because we've got a trophy to defend.
Yeah, I've got no medal because I had more important things to do.
Yes, saying. You probably did, to be fair. And I avoided doing something not as important because of that, which was watching West Ham lose, which was a disaster. But we have it here.
There's no way they're staying there, mate.
We have it here. So. Yes, you asked for the trophy to come home. It's come home, and well done, everyone.
Some proper fucking football now.
It was proper. There was a left foot finish from the halfway line in the top corner. This was what you lot
don't know, right? When this pod finishes, going to go, that was too long, James.
Nah. What's the minutes?
We're about an hour in, mate.
Just roughly. Saturday, Crystal Palace 1. Jurgen Klopp's favourite time, kickoff 12:30. Liverpool 2.
You can't say that. Was it Marcus Buckland after the Sheffield United game? Did you see him? It was so touchy, mate.
So angry.
Oh, it's so unnecessary because it just brings more attention back to him. Okay, it was a little. Why didn't you have a little bit of light-hearted banter about it? But anyway,
top of the league now.
Yeah, and I think probably still going a little bit under the radar because I think if you ask most people and you said to them, "I think Liverpool win the league," they'd probably say no. They'd probably pick one of the two other teams. I think
they just keep chipping away, and they've got some home games.
3 other teams. Sorry, Villa fans. But yeah, listen, Palace, what do I always say? Go there, win, leave. You have to give Palace credit because we've obviously got a lot of problems with injuries. We'd said on Friday that we'd heard that Hodgson may leave out Michael Elise because of the Sunday, Wednesday, and then Saturday lunchtime thing. So it's a problem for Palace in the sense they were without their best available player at the start of the game as well. And unfortunately, when they did have him involved, they were down to 10 men because of Jordan Ayew's red card, which was harsh. It was harsh because I think both are probably yellow card offences, but you'll normally get away with one of them. When we played Palace... When we played Palace a few weeks ago, the amount of fouls he committed before he got booked. Like, Palace fans will know that, right? He's a disruptor. You don't normally get punished.
We had the same problem with him and Kudus, but I think because they were Ghanaian teammates going at each other, it felt just a little bit like a bit of a rivalry. But they were fouls, sticking the boot in a bit and stuff. I don't think Kudus was an angel opposite, but yeah, I can see why it ends up becoming persistent fouling. Ref gets a bit pissed off, and next thing you know,
so,
carded, mate.
Bit of early Palace team news for the weekend. Roy Hodgson said that he didn't think Tyreek Mitchell or Ebe Eze would be back in time for the game. Sam Johnston obviously went off injured. Jefferson Lerman may have a hamstring problem. Cheikh Doucouré, we know, is out for the season. Odson Edouard went off at half-time because of a knee injury. And Ayew himself is obviously suspended now. And they go to Manchester City on Saturday.
Triple captain Haaland if he's fit.
No, don't do that. What I would say is there's 2 ways that can go. One, you could look at it and go, oh my God, they've got so many men missing. Like, there's an inevitability of what that game will be, and there probably is. But guess what they're going to do? They're going to make it a slog. They're going to make it hard work. Key will be that the 2 centre-backs are obviously available in Anderson and Gay.
Yeah, but if City score early, then it changes the
They won't change, though. That's my point.
Restrict it to 2s and 3s rather than risk it and go to 5s and 6s.
I think so.
I'm with you because what other choice have they got? Like, what other choice have they got? It's going to be difficult.
Well, what they're going to have Mateta up front. I suppose they'd probably play Elise and Schlupp in the wide areas. Like, it's not great. They're going to be shorter players quite badly. So bear that in mind in terms of Palace's situation going into Saturday. They've also got Palace a horrendous run of fixtures coming up, as we've covered previously. For Liverpool, didn't play well, and I think that's pretty clear. Jarell Quansah played centre-back, and I thought he did fine, but it was obviously his challenge for The penalty, which I've got to be honest, I didn't think there was much difference in that to the Gabriel Jesus incident in the Villa-Arsenal game. Diaz did play, and it was pretty bright, I thought, Luis Diaz. It felt like it would be him for a rest. Núñez underwhelmed massively. You have games with him where he brings, we call him chaos, right? But he has games like that sometimes you think...
Just passes him by.
The control's off, there's no space in behind... If he's kind of snatching at moments when they come, and Saturday was one of them. If you owned him when in the Saturday like I did, you'd have gone, I'm not sure I want that afterwards. But again, there's 2 home games to come for Liverpool. 3 of their next 4's at home, and there's a away game against Burnley. But it does also feel like Salah and Diaz were the 2 best options for the wide areas, certainly. Jota's not a million miles away, can obviously cover one of them, but Gakpo will take some minutes off of Núñez.
Yep.
And I don't quite know where or when. So Núñez felt, especially for those 3 fixtures, Fulham, Sheffield United, Palace, want some of that. I think for me on Wildcard, it's probably, right, I'm going to look at some other things. I think for the majority of the rest of you who are on, it's probably going to be hold. Because I'm going to guess you've probably got problems elsewhere in your teams that need fixing up more.
You don't think...
covering Kieran Trippier's suspension, or like nobody's got a goalkeeper available at the moment, have they?
No temptation defensive at all, like Trent... Are you keeping Tsimikas through?
I'm not decided on Tsimikas because I know with Tsimikas that those 3 home games are tough, but at Anfield they're very, very capable. But I also know it's a short-term thing, right? So it's probably 4 game weeks.
He's one of your transfers you can move on when
Robertson will probably be back sort of mid-January. So it would be a short-term. For Trent, I think the same applies. I mean, look, he's ended up with 2 bonus from this, despite no attacking return. He played really well. He's obviously having a big influence on them at the moment. He played in the second half in the 6 role. Wataru Endo didn't play well in the first half, so they just pulled Joe Gomez on and moved Trent into the midfield. We might see more of that. I think McAllister was a big miss for them in the game as well. I just don't want to pay that 8 million. But there is a school of thought, and I get it, that obviously if Haaland's out, there's money available somewhere, particularly if you're already on the Haaland-Salah path, right? So there's availability to move a Haaland to I don't know, Watkins, Solanke if he's out, and then what am I going to do with the money? Oh, Kieran Trippier suspended, like Trent, or get a different player in to cover for Trippier.
You've got to keep the money aside to go back to Haaland when he's ready.
I get it.
And that's the biggest fear for me for people moving on Haaland.
Very, very true. But let's remember as well, and this is one of the things I need to think about this week in terms of planning ahead. Like for me, Salah and Son are 2 players I could look at now and think they've got to go in for me. Sonny looked fine yesterday. I'll talk about his position in a bit later. Salah's got to go in for me. And to be honest, if Haaland's unavailable the weekend, I'd probably captain Salah against United. Look at what he's done historically in that fixture. And it's killed me. How many times has he killed me in that fixture?
And look at what Bournemouth did to Man United.
And this week, wildcard into that would be like a nice little revenge. We'll get onto United.
Yeah, that's why I think they're targetable.
But if I go Salah, Son and wildcard, which is highly likely to do, because I just think over the next 4, I need them. They're obviously both going to disappear at the same time in game week 21. And thinking about what that's going to be needs working out. Now, for me, I think it might just be our go-to players for 3-4 weeks and just leave the money rather than struggle to get back. There's also a case point for doing that with Haaland at the moment as well, because I know I want to get back, right? I think probably the solution for me, if Haaland was out this week, would be sell Salah for the last game against Newcastle, miss Haaland against Everton in 19, but have Haaland for 20 against Sheffield United. So then I'm selling Salah in 20 and Son in 21, or do it the other way around. That's the kind of idea I have in my head at the moment if Haaland doesn't make it. But no, I can't see me having Trent on wildcard. I see the logic behind it. I don't think it'd be for me, Suj.
Brighton 1, Burnley 1. Thank you, Brighton, for bringing back the Brighton special. 1-1.
What's that?
1-1.
The 1-1 special.
It's been a little while since they've been 1-1 specialists, but a 1-1 nonetheless. Bare bones a little bit for them, isn't it, with injuries and stuff. Mitoma didn't start. We did talk about him being a punt for 1 week, and maybe this is the one to go to and whatever.
No one went there.
He didn't start. Pascal Gross, another 7-pointer. That guy, like, I've bigged him up in the past and stuff, but never. He's one of them, like, everyone has a certain player. This season, you like a little bit of Harry Wilson bigging up, and then we'll big certain players up. You'll just never own them.
Harry Wilson's done nothing except scored a worldie against you yesterday.
But
that's because you keep digging me out for tipping him up back in like game week 7.
And Pascal Gross keeps returning. 6.4 million. He's Mr. Consistent. I still wouldn't be looking at going anywhere near him.
What's remarkable about Gross is he played left back on Wednesday, right back on Saturday, and he's still a potential asset. Like, cause he just disappears into midfield
some set
areas.
Pieces and stuff. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I think Burnley will be happy to go to the Amex and come back with a point.
Yeah, to be honest, most teams will go there because of what Brighton's capability are. Will generally be quite happy with that anyway. I don't think any Liverpool fan reflects on drawing 2-2 there as a bad result. You'd go, yeah, I completely understand that. And I think Arsenal will find a difficult game in Brighton at the weekend. But to be honest, like in terms of how do I think that will go on Sunday, it's quite dependent on what the game's like for Brighton on Thursday, I think, and how involved they are in that. Now, it's worth saying, once Brighton get beyond Arsenal, I spoke about this last week, their spacing is really good over Christmas, where it might settle. Then, obviously, they go into January, where they can just, like, rotate in the FA Cup if they want, go fairly strong for the couple of league games. You might, after Arsenal, get consistency in the lineup, and someone like Mitoma actually might come back to the table. But until that, right now, you can only look at a Dinger or a João Pedro from a value perspective and say that's okay. They never play the same goalkeeper, do they?
No.
So don't keep clean sheets. I think obviously Dunk coming back is obviously a major boost for them. Obviously back from suspension. Same with Dahoud, just gives them a little bit more in terms of numbers and bodies in there. I think there might be an interesting conversation come next week. No one's going to go and buy it for Arsenal away this week anyway. You could maybe get away with even Arsenal away though. Say you've got João Pedro, like if he doesn't start Thursday and you've got all these problems maybe in the rest of your teams, then you just play him at Arsenal. It wouldn't shock me if they went to Arsenal and got something, because they're capable and they can be a frustrating beast to play against. You just know that they won't keep a clean sheet. The last clean sheet they kept was at the Emirates.
Yeah.
Unbelievably in that
football
that
cycles. Let's see what happens
in the Premier League. Any case, for Burnley, yeah, good result. Bit of a hang-on period in the second half, naturally, and we should shout at James Trafford because we've given quite a bit of criticism on this podcast. He's made some top saves in the second half, which I think would be good for his confidence and good for the players playing in front of him. Dara O'Shea coming back in for Ekdal. Probably the relevant one from a fantasy perspective is obviously Charlie Taylor. He's now suspended for the weekend game against Everton. Imagine you're sitting there with something like Trippier and Taylor. It's conceivable, isn't it? You could have gone into this week with like Trippier, James, Taylor. What you got now for the weekend, man? You're taking hits for defenders under that circumstance, aren't you? That's a sickener because it's one of the ones you probably would have thought Everton at home, despite their really good form. You go, oh, I could use that. I think they'll probably use Connor Roberts probably in that position, and they'll use him quite inverted to come into midfield for that fixture at the weekend.
Yep. Let's talk about that other fixture then that you said we'll get to. 3-0 Bournemouth against Manchester United. We talked about how much more of a difficult game than Chelsea Bournemouth would be, but I didn't think it'd be this much more difficult. They kept the same team, Man United, in terms of no Rashford still. And when I saw the lineup with no Rashford, I thought, well, all
that's
right,
the right
fair
thing
play.
to do again, yeah.
Yeah, like credit to, if you've got a winning team that's played well, don't then pander to the star and bring him back in again. Fair play. Reguilon comes in left back and Shaw...
Enforced.
Yeah, but Shaw moving into central, which is what they did in the second half, wasn't it? Or whenever the injury happened against Chelsea. So carried on, basically what finished Chelsea, carried on through and got a slap. Just when you give them praise...
Shout out to FPL Sponge, who I watched on the AFCB podcast channel outside Old Trafford. He was so happy, bless him. His eyes looked a bit better than they did at our live show. Mr. Heckler, hello pal, hope you're well. Great result. He said it was Bournemouth's best ever result.
Ever.
I know 3-0 Old Trafford probably is, isn't it?
It might well be. I don't know Bournemouth results well enough to know, James. Have they ever got in like semis or finals of a trophy or close to winning something or
no? And
a Vanarama something
they've
or
had
other,
some
Papa John something or other.
They've had obviously really good results against Chelsea, certainly a few times. You know, one at my team in April. They've won some of these big away games, but I think to win like that,
to go to Old Trafford 3-0,
whatever state they're in, you don't remember that. And go, Man United were in a proper state, and let's be honest, as we said on Friday, Man United were really good last Wednesday. I don't know if that tells us more about Chelsea, maybe. But the mentality against Chelsea was right. At the weekend, I don't think it helped, and this is always the same with United. As soon as they hit like a roadblock or a problem, the collapse seems to happen. Something mentally, I mean, I didn't collapse in this game per se until later on in the game. But it's like they hit a setback and it just goes wrong. So Solanke scoring after 5 minutes. Like when I saw that, I didn't think, oh, United will definitely come back this time like they did say against Brentford. I thought, different trouble here. So I thought that straight away as soon as they conceded.
What do you make of the stat, 20 shots for Man United, 0 big chances? No real decisive quality in terms of what they were able to create.
I think in fairness, there was a lot of heroic blocks from Bournemouth. And
12 block shots.
I'm very conscious, actually, of not overlooking Bournemouth here, because Manchester United is just not a fantasy conversation anyway, other than there'll be a few people holding like an Onana, Dalot or Maguire. Well, guess what? If you've got all those other injuries and suspensions, you might need it this week, and that could be ugly in itself. Bruno Fernandes is suspended for the trip to Liverpool.
Got a yellow card.
Now, whatever you think of Bruno, that midfield, I would presume they'll play Mino and Amrabat together, I think, and probably play McTominay as a 10, who, just on the highlights I saw in Match of the Day, I could have pulled out 5 or 6 errors that was enough for talking tactics on Scott McTominay. He looked like he had a disaster class to me. And we know he's been interesting from a fantasy asset perspective recently. They bring Rashford back in for Garnacho?
And then what? Well, who's going to come in for?
You want Rashford chasing after Trent? Even if whether Trent plays it as an auxiliary right back or whether he moves into midfield, you trust Rashford to go after him?
No, but then someone else will have to do that role. Rashford isn't going to track him. We're not buying the United players anyway. Bournemouth, though, like the next 3, Luton and Forest are at home, right? And in between sandwiched against that, who's the away game? Fulham? Luton and Fulham are home, and Forest is the away game in between for Bournemouth.
So really,
that run of 3,
really good.
Got to buy Solanke surely for that. Like if you're talking about form, fixtures, and everything coming together at the right time, avoiding that is like just going counter to everything.
So are you buying him this week?
I think I should.
Can you afford to, as in like other problems in your squad, or have you landed okay out of this?
If Haaland's, Trippier, and I'll just bench Trippier for Lascelles, because Fulham at home still okay.
If Sven Botman's not back.
Yeah. And I've got Diaby and Cash are currently my bench.
What good's that?
What do you mean?
Oh, you leaving on the bench, sorry.
Diaby and Cash on my bench right now. Fine. So I've got depth on my bench.
Yeah.
So, yes, like I could, if Haaland was out, I could sell Haaland for Solanke, no problem.
I think that's a given for most people.
Yeah. It's too obvious. But there must be some other fringe players in and around. I mean, but it's talisman.
Can I be honest with you? As long as he doesn't suffer a training setback during the week or something, and I think this would apply to anybody else on Wildcard, he's a certainty for me.
It might be.
It's an absolute certainty. And there's only 3 or 4 people in my head I could think 100%. He's one of them.
Mm.
He's got to go in. And do you know what? I think he's like the 4th highest scoring forward now. And just thinking about this longer term, you do wonder if just like when they're all fit, Haaland, Watkins, Solanke, you got 3 consistent beasts there at slightly different quality levels, but are all really good value at their pricing. Yes, even Haaland because of the amount you use the armband on him. Oh, you could just leave that and start jumping around the midfield players more.
Between now and the end of the season, who scores more points? Dominic Solanke or Julian Alvarez? Because what you said there was set and forget, right?
Listen, it never becomes set and
forget.
No,
unfortunately not.
Because blanks and doubles and form will change and all that sort of stuff. I'd be very tempted to say Solanke, Suj, because Kevin De Bruyne's return will have a major impact on Alvarez.
That's very true. That's very true. Like I bought Alvarez at 6.6, and 6.6 is Solanke's current price, and Alvarez is at 6.9. Alvarez has tapered off a little bit, and it's always about catching these players when they're on a run. But I don't think it's as clear cut between the two of them. It'll be tight between the two of them. But again, if you're going to take up a City
someone
spot,
like Solanke,
sure.
If he goes in on the wild card and he blanks against Luton and blanks against Forest and then blanks in a couple of games after, he gets moved on to someone, doesn't he?
So let me ask the question differently. Haaland's fit and plays. Watkins we know is in a lot of teams
That's
as well.
my front three.
Would you then sell Alvarez if you were in this position?
Yeah,
Alvarez for Solanke. Yeah. You think that's okay for people to move Alvarez on now? And I'm probably there or thereabouts as well. But I think I've had my fun with Alvarez. Time for him to go.
Yeah, he might stay for me, Alvarez. If obviously Haaland's out, because you know he's going to play through the middle against that Palace. So
it's one of Haaland. What we're saying is one of Haaland or Alvarez is sacrificial for Solanke for a lot of people this week.
They might both be sacrificial for bit. There's not as many people as you think on Alvarez, mate. I don't think. I think a majority have already been off.
28%.
Live is not a big deal, I don't think. And I think most have either moved it on or thinking of moving it on. And to be honest, is even people I think will go Alvarez to Solanke this week. I'm not sure I'd necessarily advise that, by the way. But in most scenarios, I think Solanke is going to be really popular. It was part of the reason for me knowing that's a clear player that people are going to go and target this week. On Wildcard, you've got to take advantage of that.
You're trying to add anything else from Bournemouth?
Yeah, there's big considerations for a few. So, a couple of caveats first. Marcus Senesi has scored in the last couple of games and he's only 4.3. He is on 4 yellow cards. Whether that bothers you or not is entirely up to you. But if you need it specifically for game week 18, you have to be aware of that. Neto in goal, I think it's a really good option.
Still 4-5?
Yeah, that's a really good option, actually. I think it's fine. He's consistent. He had a little period where he came out the team. I think he's secure and back in it. Bournemouth defensively have improved since he come back in as well. I think that's a really interesting option that's going to be a real differential. It won't be many teams because of that period where he came out. I like Zabani as well as an option. I think Milos Kerkez, you would have to have short-term thinking about it because we don't know the impact when Lloyd Kelly's back in January. But for Christmas, you should be good. He particularly made a number of really good blocks at the weekend. Justin Kluivert, he's not really returning at the moment, but that's a great enabling price at 4.6. Won't rule it out. Marcus Tavernier is the sort of one I could... If I end up going with Haaland and Salah, I can see me going with someone like that. And just punting it for a couple of games, yeah. Because I think my thinking might be to take Saka and Bowen out, knowing that Salah and Son to those two when it comes round later on. It's risky, but it might be then I'd end up with something like Tavernier, Gordon and Palmer, for example. I could see me ending up with something like that, possibly. Solanke, obviously, Semenyo up front. Might be that I go Semenyo as third foot. I could go Semenyo and Solanke, go them two and Watkins. If I then go to midfield 5, then obviously when I flip Salah to Haaland, I'm then going Salah to a cheap midfielder and then Semenyo up to Haaland. It gives me really good cover over this Christmas period. So there's a number there to consider for Bournemouth at the moment. Really good performance, really good win. What are they, 16 points in 7 or something? Are they level on points with Chelsea?
Yes.
Bloody hell.
Wolves. And Brentford. All of them on 19 points.
I saw a brilliant stat on Chelsea. I just throw it out where I remember. Because of Forest draw on Saturday, none of the 17 teams that have been in the Premier League all year, the whole calendar year, none of them have got less points than Chelsea.
Mad. Sheffield United 1, Brentford 0. Let's talk about this game, James. I don't know much about it at all, to be honest with you. Other than I saw bad day at the office for Brentford.
The XG in the first half was about 0.10 across both teams or something.
What do we know on Mbomo? Because I think he's the most fantasy relevant asset in this at the moment as it stands. No return date. It's going to be a few weeks. Yeah. I couldn't really...
You ain't going to see Mbomo till February, mate.
Is that what their prognosis is now?
Well, I just thinking anything beyond sort of January the 2nd, so that's taking us up to what, game week 20?
I couldn't understand. This guy was saying, Frank was like, it's not good, but then it'll be a few weeks. I didn't know if he was trying to downplay it or upplay it.
My personal thoughts would be, I'm not a doctor, but there's every chance he won't even play at AFCON, is my take. So if you're still sitting on it, it's going to go.
Got to move it on.
Yeah, I think so. And that was never the plan because I'd wanted him for this fixture, and you may have had a different result.
And their run is a start, as it was supposed to be the start anyway, of a decent run for Brentford.
Well, and also now as well, we don't think the 20 double. That was another thing in terms of wildcard. Getting beyond Saturday and no City Brentford announcement. Because part of the reason for holding for 19 as well was to get in the right City players and maybe a couple of Brentford for the double and stuff. Because they've got some good fixtures over that period as well. But I don't know where you'd want to go at the moment. We've got too many problems. Christopher Jair now is out to a game with 21 as well. We think Collins, Jensen and De Silva have all got a chance of being back at the weekend. We've got so many problems. I said on Friday, I think that they've been the worst hit now in terms of actually impacting the first 11. They went back to a 4-3-3 at the weekend. Lewis Potter played the right wing position. We weren't sure whether it was going to be him or Visser. That side, Visser played left. Norgard being back was obviously a bonus, but then because of that, they did what I said to you on the differential show I thought they'd do. Play Vitaly Janelt at left back. You're better off with him in midfield. They're not in a good place at the moment, and it's very understandable why.
Just avoid.
Very understandable why. Great result for Sheffield United.
It is.
This looked like more of a 4-1-4-1 with... I'm interested to speak to... I'm speaking to Tomo tonight for tomorrow's Clash of Correspondents. It kind of like Cameron Archer really played, and I know he did against Liverpool, and I might have had the wrong read in terms of their system. Really did have a big lean to the left. Oshula played through the middle. I don't know he's done 4 yellow cards, by the way, because I feel like he ain't played 4 games this season, but he is. And Vinicius Souza really protected. Andre Brooks played a little bit more inside. Gave Gustavo Harmer a little bit more freedom than what they obviously had against Liverpool. McAtee's goal was absolutely great. They'll obviously be in a good frame of mind now. And you know what? They'll look at Chelsea and won't be frightened about it Saturday. I don't see Chelsea walloping them like 4-5-0. I would expect Chelsea to win.
Yeah, I would.
But I don't see Chelsea walloping them. You know what you're going to get from Chris Wilder, and obviously the team will feel in a much better state at the moment.
It was one of those where I'm like, great result. You look good in terms of winning 1-0 at home, get some points on the board, and then when you go and look at the table and you're like, okay, you're still up to only 8 points. You're still 5 points behind Everton, who are just above the relegation zone, who have had 10 points deducted. It just felt like good result, good win. You're probably still getting down there.
Who's above Everton? Is Forest?
Forest with 1 point.
You ain't even looking at Everton, you're looking at Forest.
Yeah, I get that because I think Everton will really climb out. Forest 14 and then Palace 16 points. It's a big gap at the moment for them, sadly. And we're talking about Forest. Wolves won, Forest won. I thought they'd done well to get a result here, arrest the run of like negativity around them, which justified and unjustified a little bit as well. Like, I don't see Forest at risk of going down at all this season, so it's just kind of play your cards when you're dealt them.
I wouldn't say that, actually.
I don't think so.
I wouldn't say that. They're without a goal scorer at the moment, so they ended up kind of playing Langer and Gibbs White through the middle at the weekend. They changed system, which is what Mark had called for a couple of weeks ago before they played Everton. He was like, he'd feel more stable about them being able to get results if they played a back three, which had obviously moved away from. But it does give them a better platform to try and stop the opposition. You should bear that in mind for the Friday night game against Tottenham. Loads of changes. Bolly and Niakate either side of Murillo, which I think helped Murillo because I said he was overly aggressive trying to chase things against Fulham, and then they were playing around him. And you can afford to do that a bit more in a back five, where if you step out from there. Lots of players do it in back fours now, but if you don't get it right, you're in so much trouble. Williams played right wing back, kind of out of nowhere. Kiyate was back in the team. We haven't seen him for a while. So it was a real different feel to Forest. The only one that's relevant from a fantasy perspective, and I must shout out the person who said to me on Saturday on the stream, and said, why don't you just start Turner over Johnston? I thought, well, Turner ain't playing anyway. And I did have half a second to think, should I do that? No, he won't play anyway. Okay, it would have made 1 point difference for me. I think he's obviously dropped to 3.9. And
is Vlachodimos out now then?
No, he's fit.
No, as out of the team.
I obviously threw Turner out before the price went down at the weekend. He could come back.
Buy him back cheaper.
But I think that could flip at any time.
That's too dangerous.
I don't think that's like that's done. Turner's back in goal as the 3.9 goalkeeper of choice. Like, you're probably in a position now where if you still have him, and some will, it might solve the problem for you. But do you want to look at it against Tottenham this weekend? Like, probably not.
And then Bournemouth, but then it's Newcastle, Man United, Brentford, Arsenal.
It's not a great run, is it?
Nah, there's better options elsewhere.
But 18's fine, but even like that Bournemouth fixture just looks way tougher now, doesn't it? You wouldn't think Bournemouth wouldn't go there and score, would you?
No. Wolves, on the other hand, keep scoring. Like, they're not prolific, but they have goals in them now. Cunha's chipped in a little bit now. We know what Hwang can do. A lot of people went in with him this weekend. They're still missing Neto. Sarabia's kind of slotted in there as well. They've got a goal or two in them in a lot of games now, Wolves, so you kind of gives you a bit more of a fighting chance to do well.
Yeah, I've ruled Cunha out of Wildcard. I know I've done that because I bought him on Saturday night. and took the price rise and sold him yesterday to cover for Watkins in case he went up. And I've decided I would go Jimenez over Cunha. So Cunha's ruled out for me on Wildcard. Purely just, if I need the striker in 18, I'd rather have Jimenez at home to Burnley than Cunha against Chelsea. That's the decision. And if whichever one of them I went for, it would be short term. He's dancing around the Haaland problem potentially. So I've ruled him out. But he's been ticking over really great. I think he's like 5th or 6th highest scoring forward now or something. Yep. Hwang's obviously been doing really well. The conscious with him, as we've said several times, is 4 yellows. Neto, we don't think will be back for the weekend. On Mario Lemina, because he's so important to Wolves, he did go off at the weekend. The word is it was precautionary. So he should still be okay for the week because they'll be weaker without him. No doubt about that. Joseph Sarr obviously back in goal. No big surprise. So if you were looking for your Bentley 7.8 and Turner Dream, that's over for you. So I think Wolves, I'm probably going to pass by Suj, because I think there would have been a temptation to attack them for the 2 that's just gone, right? Burnley and Forest. Wildcarding into them now feels... What have they got at the weekend, Wolves? Away game, isn't it?
They're playing the mighty, massive, giant West Ham.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to beat Chelsea the week after. But I wouldn't fancy them, despite Wham 2 yesterday, I wouldn't fancy them at your place. So
agreed.
I think Cunha and Hwang, really good enabling options. Nori's got a chance of being back next week if you're still on. And if you are, then there's every chance you're going to need him even in that fixture. I did note, by the way, a bit of a... I've been doing some proper digging because I'm on Wildcard. I have to check these things. Nelson Semedo and Jack Grealish showing on the FPL site as 4 yellow cards. Both got booked in the same game, which doesn't show on the FPL site. So they are obviously... Jack Grealish, we know, was suspended at Villa, but it might be one you forget in a couple of weeks. Semedo had his suspension ages ago.
Oh, so it's,
but on the FPL website, they're only showing 4 yellows. Just bear that in mind. So, like, he's fine. What I'm saying, if you did want to go into him for whatever reason, like, he's had his suspension out of the way, despite the fact it shows he's on 4 yellow cards.
Cool. Let's talk about Aston Villa 1, Arsenal 0. I caught the last 20 minutes of this where Arsenal were trying to bang on the door a little bit. But Villa's home run keeps going. 15 games now. And
they'll feel like it's never going to end. Sheffield United and Burnley are the next 2 home games.
Yeah, so you'd bank them to win those 2.
I think Liverpool 24 is the Premier League record, I think. So you've still got a fair way to go, I think.
A way to go.
Look, for them to win those 2 games against certainly 2 of the title contenders and keep clean sheet in both, yeah, that's absolutely brilliant. When actually, if you look at all the results prior to these 2, they had always been conceding the odd goal. Like we said with Matty Cash and stuff, it's like 1s and 2s and that shit. So that's really impressive. And they did it in a very different way to the City game. So I think Emi Martinez summed it up really well after the game. It's like, look, we dominated City. Saturday, you had to hold on. And that was fair because actually, it's weird how football works out. I thought Arsenal played quite well, actually. Not to the extent I think, Arsenal should have won or anything like that, but I think Arsenal's performance was fine. They created big moments. I think
4 big chances, they just missed them all.
Particularly that Odegaard miss in the first half. Like, it's good, really good save from Martinez, who gambles a little bit with his feet, but Odegaard's got to score in that situation. They played better than they played at Brentford or Luton when they got the 2 late winners. And Villa can play better than that. Now, that's the big caveat and thing to appreciate for Villa. Villa can play better. And what also really benefited Villa was, you reflect on, say, Newcastle yesterday and not being able to bring players in to change the game. Villa's changes, I felt, made them weaker, but it was still competitive changes to bring into the game. You know, people who can compete for a first-team place. The majority of the squad's fit. We know, obviously, Buendia and Mings have been long-term injuries. But largely otherwise, the majority of that squad's fit. And I think we should obviously all be interested, whatever our strategy is on them at the moment. I think Watkins, for me, is going to be the standout captaincy in game week 18. And there should be an awareness that people are going to buy him this week. And as long as he doesn't get injured at the weekend, people are definitely going to be buying him next week. So I can see those who keep Haaland fighting with the urge not to go early for Watkins next week. Remember, next week's Carabao Cup fixtures, no game for Villa. So it should be one you should be able to go early, but remember, obviously, they don't play till Sunday. So Villa players of interest for me, Pau Torres is a definite. There's 2 defenders that are absolute definites in my wild card, and he's one. The reason him, I think Diogo Carlos, who's cheaper, is playing really, really well at the moment. He's only 4.4, but I do feel like that could change. Torres, I feel like even if he had to cover at left back, which he might do this weekend, by the way, I feel like he's definitely going to play at 4.6. Can I guarantee that like 100% every game? No, he might get rotated over a Christmas period, but largely speaking, he's going to play all the games. Cash and the others is too guessy, punty. Luca Dean's obviously suspended this week, but if Moreno plays really well, could he stay in for Sheffield United? He's at the moment where suddenly it flips. Douglas Luiz is suspended for the game this weekend at Brentford as well. That's a real big miss, actually. But obviously, he'll be available for game week 18. So those who've got are going to want to keep. You ain't going to want to sell that when he'll be back and he'll definitely be in the team with Sheffield United. McGinn's interesting. As I said, Leon Bailey may well come with me. If I think he's going to start on Sunday, I may well go down that route.
We're in such a funny...
I know, but because I'm setting with a wild card now, I could punt it even better now, right? As go, right, do you know what? You're sod it. You're my one wild card guy.
You and me are the epitome of the opposite ends of the spectrum that the FPL community will be on Villa. So, obviously, because you've got your wild card, Watkins, for all of us, is like the staple, yeah? Don't piss about with talismanic Watkins. You're on wild card, so you can kind of go flavour of the moment, a little bit fruity. Oh. Bailey and Pau Torres. I've had my Villa players for a few weeks and have gone with the tried and trusted Cash and Diaby. I can't justify without a wild card moving Cash and Diaby before 18. I'm kind of like spluttering along till we get there.
Bailey's out.
And now Bailey's out. Diaby's come good again, which might mean Cash comes good again. So we're in a real hokey-cokey. Watkins is a staple. The rest of them... yeah. Is a little bit of it, but I can't... I want to get Pedro Porro.
I've told you, if Bailey's out, Cash and Diaby might both be back in.
I want to get Porro, and I cannot justify moving Cash on for Porro because of game week 18 being 2 weeks away. I'm stuck with Cash, Diaby, Watkins, and I'm not going to move any of them on this week.
Did you say you can't justify Cash to Porro?
Yeah, this week. Because I won't have 18 players. I won't have 11 players in 18. But here's the thing, James. I could justify Trippier to Porro.
Yeah, but you're going to want Trips back straight away, really.
What, for Luton away? Who have just made it very difficult for...
I get that.
For City, they made it very difficult. For Liverpool, they made it difficult for your boys, my boys. It's a shithole to go to. So I might just leave.
It's just a shithole, full stop.
It's a difficult place to go to. I might just make Trippier the sacrifice, like play the cards that I've got on the table. But I can't do Cash, put it that way. Arsenal, Brighton at home now, which will be important. Liverpool away. West Ham at home. 3 tougher games, you'd say. They always beat us, to be fair. But
yeah, I don't want to go with no Arsenal on wildcard. I think Gabriel's almost going to be a definite for me. I realise there's a little bit more risk in him than William Saliba, but there's also a saving of a good 0.6. And yes, the next 2 are tough, Brighton, Liverpool, but I'm just going to probably try and set myself in a... I say Brighton's tough. It is from a defensive perspective, at least. Try and set myself up where I can bench him in the next 2. And have him ready for the good run that starts afterwards. You they play afterwards, game week 20?
Who?
Arsenal.
Yeah. We play them in 19, isn't it?
19, sorry. Yeah, you're quite right. Then I think they're Fulham. Then it's Palace at home. Like, it's a good run coming.
It's steady.
So I don't want to go no Arsenal on wild card. But it won't be free. Raya, I don't think is under consideration for me. I think Gabriel worth the saving on Saliba. You could make a case for Zinchenko or White now that Tomiyasu is going to be out for a while, but I'm not keen on that particularly. Saka, I've obviously got good value in, and he probably stays. If Haaland's out, Saka's a definite for me. But if Haaland's available, I might cut him.
Okay.
I might cut him, and that would be part of the strategy. Like I said, Salah, Son, it probably means I cut Bowen as well. And then there'll be my 2 guys to come in for Salah and Son further down the line. So Saka is, I think, dependent by Haaland, I would say. I need to set up 2 wild cards here, basically. Because the decision's going to come on Friday, right? And I'm going to have 3-4 hours to lock it in. Because Friday deadline, right? Pep's not going to do his press until Friday, I shouldn't imagine.
No. And he won't tell you anything anyway.
So the rest, though, like Martinelli is just a complete cut for me at the moment. I've got no interest in anything else Arsenal at the moment, but aware that I might want to get to 3 fairly soon. So there's an idea of how to get to Saka. Gabriel is really likely to come with me, even though if I bench it for the next couple of weeks, that's the thinking. Arsenal have lost now at Villa at Newcastle. Those are 2 of the toughest away games you can have. It's not a disaster, particularly considering those late winners they obviously had. Next couple big for Arsenal, because you might blink. Brighton at home, it will be a tough game. They might win it 4-0, by the way, but it could be a really tough game. Then obviously to go to Anfield. You could end up in a position here suddenly where you go, oh shit, with 5-6 behind Liverpool. Could happen here.
I think it's going to topsy-turvy a little bit for a while.
If Liverpool get in that position, they'll right fancy themselves, and they've got the know-how.
They're good front runners for sure.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's talk about some of these Sunday games, James. Question for you. Are Everton now good?
Yes, if everybody's fit.
Because with Dyche, we thought they would have the know-how and craft to just get through and get results and whatever else. If they hadn't had their points deduction, they'd be 1 point behind us, top half of the table. They've beaten Chelsea now 2-0, who are
just
Jekyll and Hyde.
Just won 3 games and kept 3 clean sheets in a row.
That's why I'm asking you, mate.
Do you think sold Jordan Pickford 3 weeks ago?
I didn't think Everton were going to go down, but it was because everyone else was so bad and Dyche would just get them out of it. But they're winning games, and it's kind of like, are they actually good now? Like, are they a good team, or are they just a functional team? But they seem to be doing what they need to.
It feels harsh to call them functional. I just think they've rallied, right? They've realised the crisis of the problem.
Makes a decent difference when DCL's in.
Imagine they've lost all 3 of them games this week.
I did hear Baker saying yesterday that he thought DCL would be, if he was fit for the season, ahead of Watkins for England in the Euros. I don't agree with that. I don't think DCL has proven that he's anywhere in the level of where
I don't think you could rely to keep him fit for a month, unfortunately.
But look, they'll be happy, man. Super happy now.
Yeah, there's a couple of FPL options here. Pickford by default, because everyone seems to have a goalkeeper problem somewhere. So wildcarders are going to consider it for a player who's just kept 3 clean sheets in a row. And their fixture this weekend isn't bad. So I might even look at a pairing of him. Branthwaite's obviously really good enabling price. My problem with him always is, despite the fact they've obviously had a really good run, I don't know how many weeks there'd be that I'd look at him and go, I'm going to play you. Oh, this week could be one. No, it's not. He's suspended. And by the way, I wouldn't be surprised to get beat without him. I said this. Whichever game he misses, they'll be in trouble for.
Yep.
So it's Burnley away this week. And it might be one you go, oh, shit, Burnley beat Everton. And the narrative spins back around. Because they can afford to play a little bit higher with him. They'll go deeper, and it's a massive drop-off to Michael Caine. They're James Garner back this weekend. That's a positive. I think of the midfielders, it's the regular one I say is Abdullah Doucouré. If you do want to go in there rather than say Harrison, Doucouré's underlying numbers are great, really good. I think he's been overlooked because there's been so many others, Palmers, Gordons, who have been playing for teams that we'd associate with scoring more goals, who are a bit more interesting and exciting. Abdullah Doucouré will tick over. But it's the same thing. I don't think I'll be going now. So it could be that despite the 3 wins, I completely overlook Everton, because I can't help look ahead and think them fixtures a bit shit. So I could say, let's say I went Pickford and Leno. That's not impossible. I'd play Pickford this week, wouldn't I? Leno's going to Newcastle. Pickford's going to Burnley. But the problem of Branthwaite missing this week feels a bit meh. So I may overlook Everton, but I don't think we should overlook them in the sense of what I already said on Friday. Like, they'll come to Tottenham and play like West Ham played last week. Not in exactly the same way. No, but they'll make it a tough game.
It's going to be very difficult.
Yeah, they're doing really well. I don't think any of us think they're going to go down.
No Reece James on your wildcard, yeah? Just making sure.
Game week 16 will be there, yeah? Well, he was for about 20 minutes, wasn't he? Unbelievable. Do you know what?
If Bailey's done a kebab, he's popping on Reece James, isn't he? Or what is it about him physically?
If you went for him in game week 13, you had him sent off against Newcastle, suspended against Brighton, benched against Man United, injured against Everton. What have you got from that? -1 across 4 weeks. Bloody
Who
hell.
are you? If you are, screenshot that shit and send it in. I'm assuming you have no Chelsea on your wild card.
Well, I bought Sanchez Saturday night, and I would like to have him as the one Chelsea defensive asset I know will play because the fixtures are great. Petrovic, by the way, the backup keeps 4.5. Before anyone because that was the first thing a lot of us did. If he's 4, I'll go in for a little bit. No, he's a rare one. He's got the 4.5. So I'm not paying that for him unless, I mean, to be honest, if Sanchez was a serious injury, they'd probably buy a keeper anyway. Which Poch said yesterday. He said, yeah, we need to spend some more money in this. Yes, mate. Go and spunk another 600 million.
Mental.
He's under pressure now, I think. Real pressure. If they didn't beat Sheffield United on Saturday, there'd be some real questions getting asked because now the stats are coming back round about what I said. Lowest points across the calendar year. In the table, where are they now? 12th. Like, you can say transition season and all that. You shouldn't be there.
No, it's not that. It shouldn't be that bad.
And really, it's 13th, isn't it? Because Everton would be above them, I presume.
It's true. They would be. By 4 points, quite comfortably.
Bloody hell. I mean, that's bad, isn't it? So, look, there's a massive temptation to look at them because the fixtures are really good. Colwell might be the option if you want a defensive one. Because, obviously, Cucurella could cover it right back. I don't think that's a long-term solution. Put it this way, Reece James' hamstring, he ain't going to be available. That's clear. He'll miss at least the Christmas period. So could use Cucurella at right back. If they do that, Colwell will play left back. There is also a little bit of speculation, unconfirmed, that Cucurella might have picked up a problem himself yesterday. Now, if that's the case, I'll probably go and gamble him.
Yeah.
As a give me cover for like Sheffield United at home and some of these good fixtures they got coming up. I don't think I'd want to play him any away game though. Wouldn't trust them. Offensively, Cole Palmer's now on 4 yellows. And I've been sitting here week on week going, well, Raheem Sterling's on 4 yellows. I can't take that chance. Well, maybe now I can on Wildcard, and I could afford to chance either of them a bit more. And I may well 1 week punt one of them. Possibly. Because the fixture this weekend's great, right? Should we really, on Wildcard, go and attack Chelsea with the fixtures? Yes. There's also the Nkunku unknown element. So I think if I was to go with a Sterling or Palmer, and it's not beyond possibility I go with both, by the way, I need to be aware that they're both really, really short-term picks, I think, because the situation could change through Nkunku. They obviously could get suspended at the wrong time. That then means I take less chances than the rest of my squad. And so, unbelievably, despite, I think part of the strategy with wildcarding over this period would have been all Chelsea's run, I could end up with none.
Mad.
If Sanchez is fit, he's a definite. But I'd have to think that he's probably not going to be. If you're a goalkeeper and you're coming off with 5 minutes to go, and it seems like he had the problem a bit earlier in the game, Colwell, like I said, it might just land correctly. And I think those who've got, you should probably keep. I wouldn't be surprised if Thiago Silva doesn't come back in. Purely as well on that yesterday, that when obviously James has got the problem, they've brought Colwell on rather than Silva. Now you could say, well, that's to keep the two centre-backs together and obviously move Cucurella to right back. But his away performances at both Newcastle and Manchester United were alarming. And there might be a fault of, he's old, right? He's been magnificent. But there might be a phasing out. Could be happening here. Badiashile or Disasaya, I wouldn't be comfortable going for.
Okie dokie, let's talk about Fulham 5, West Ham 0. I know nothing about this game, James. Nothing. I haven't watched highlights. All I know is the team lineups. I know we had Emerson and Alvarez out from our point of view, and then decided and took the opinion that there's literally nothing to learn from watching the highlights or caring about this. It's a 5-0. It's out the way. Whatever happened. We lost. We keep moving. Simple as that. Like, I don't think I'm going to take anything away from this and learn it. In the same way that, like, people getting high on Fulham scoring 10 goals in a week, and it's not me taking away from what they've done, but they've won 3 of the last 4, right? Wolves, Forest, West Ham are the 3 victories. They're not, like, beating anyone spectacular. Prior to that, they hadn't won for 5-6 games. And who was it? Sheffield United. Prior to that, they'd only won 1 of their previous 5. Who was it? Luton. So Fulham have, great. They've scored 10 goals and won 2 games in 2 weeks. And from a West Ham point of view, I tell you why I just can't care, right? We've just had Thursday night away at your place. No disrespect, Fulham, but that's obviously clearly a bigger issue. I'd rather, if you'd said to me, beat Fulham 20-0 and lose to Spurs, I'd beat Spurs and lose 20-0 to Fulham. And then we got Thursday Freiburg, which is the last stage in the group. It's like sandwiched in the middle, isn't it? It's just like, I don't care. Like, give me Spurs last week and give me Freiburg next week. But that shouldn't be the attitude. And I can't take away from a 5-0 slapping, right, at the end of the day. But from what I heard this morning when I was coming into the office was we could have been 2 up before we started conceding goals. And then next thing you know, it's the deck of cards, same old shit with West Ham that just collapses.
Let's give West Ham some mitigating. So, it sounds like you had lasagna Saturday night.
I don't know what the injury was. Emerson was on the bench, right? What happened to Alvarez?
It's finally come back to bite you like 17 and a half years on. Sounds like a lot of the players were sick, which apparently one of the worst affected
was it?
Yeah, apparently, yeah.
Okay.
Apparently one of the worst affected was Pablo Fornals, who started.
Why start him then?
Well, apparently that's what was reported in The Athletic. Emerson was obviously badly affected, which is part why Cresswell played.
Yeah.
And Alvarez obviously wasn't involved at all, was obviously bad. That's the word. Does sound like a good excuse story, I might add. We weren't trying to get the game postponed prior to it like we were that day at your place back in 2006. So look, there might be a bit of mitigating on that. There's also
we're not the type of team that gets slapped 5s and stuff like that.
And there's also on top of that the fact that you obviously chase the ball for a lot of Thursday nights, so then there's a fatigue element as well.
Yeah.
Then when you start going a couple of goals down, that you just hit a psychological wall, I think, a little bit as well. And some of the goals you can see are bad. Some of them are good, like Harry Wilson, hello, that's digging you out as well. Nico is going to find the clip where you said last week that
they can't score 5 again.
Can't score 5 again.
I don't think there's a video clip because I think I said it on the Diff show.
Pod?
I think I'm 90% sure I said it on the Diff show, mate.
We'll find,
where Fulham won't score 5 and Forest won't concede 5 again.
We'll find the clip though, mate. We'll get
it's definitely. I'm 90% sure. Look on the Diff show when we're doing the predictions.
For West Ham, in terms of the wild card, it's Bowen or nothing. I've got no interest in anything else unless if Areola suddenly returns and he's back. I'm fairly certain he'd go back in goal, particularly after that yesterday as well. And I'm not saying Flappy's particularly had a personal nightmare or anything, but I think if he's back available, he goes back in goal. I think.
Yeah, I mean he's still in my squad. I've got no plan on moving him on, but yeah,
I think that's better than punting at Emerson or Soufal, even though I've spoken up about it a little bit. Bowen over Kudos for me, I maintain that opinion. Bowen, as I said, is probably maybe going to be impacted by Haaland and having to find a little bit of money and then coming back for him maybe. But I don't really want to be without him for that game at the weekend particularly. But I do look at a free fixture period of Wolves at home, United at home, Arsenal away. I think I can probably live without. But I also look at him and think, because of where he's playing, I'd be happy to have you for the foreseeable, play you in any fixture. It's not, if I don't go with him, it's not that I don't want him.
Yeah.
The ideal solution is that he does go in there. It might be that I need to make a sacrifice somewhere and he could be it. Otherwise, those two players, I don't see me. Ward-Prowse is not under consideration.
No.
Souček, at this stage, I don't think is under consideration. I don't think Kudos will be either because I think I'd still rather probably pump one of them Chelsea players because of what's in front of them next. Not, again, that you don't have a good fixture this weekend. For Fulham, they'll be the subject to talking tactics this week. For those who listen to Friday's pod, you've probably already got a little bit idea of this. And if you had that in your mind and watched the goals yesterday, you can see it again in terms of wide overload. Something new is happening with Fulham. From a selection perspective, Tim Ream now second game in a row has not started. This might be Bassi and Adebayo as the permanent 2 at centre-back, but I don't know if I'd want to chance it. Equally, I don't know if I want to chance the likes of Castagne or Robinson. Robinson's on 4 yellows, by the way, in the full-back area. And I don't think Willian or Iwobi punting something like that is not going to be for me because there's too many other good midfield players in the game. Raul Jimenez from nowhere will be a serious consideration for me. Because I look at 18 and think, well, to cover the Manchester City for the 1 week, him at home to Burnley to partner with Watkins and Solanke is going to be about as good as it could be, I think. For free hitters 18...
He'd be in if I was free hitting an 18.
I think he could be.
I just can't justify it ahead of Watkins or
100% so
Solanke
short-term.
or whatever. Solanke or Raul Jimenez?
Oh, Solanke all day.
Yeah, see,
all
this
day.
is the thing. He's like 5th and 6th on the list, Jimenez, but he's worked his way up. And at that price at 5.2, you can't argue with it. It's a phenomenal price.
What's
for
also
him.
happening with the wide overloads, he's sticking more rather than dropping short. And also, they're getting themselves in so many good crossing positions.
Yeah.
And I think he's obviously got his confidence back area. It's bad for your perspective yesterday, but the headed goals that he scores is really good.
Look,
from
credit
his
to him, right?
And with him, it's always been confidence, right? Do I look at him and suddenly think he's my answer to my third forward prayers? No. Do I think he might, on a wild card, offer me a solution where I can bench him at Newcastle this week and play him at Burnley next week, and then he'll be part of the sacrificial lamb, if you will, to get Haaland back? Sure. Why not?
Well, let's talk about Haaland then. Let's move on to Luton 1, Man City 2.
Leno's obviously really under consideration as well.
Yeah, no doubt
Highest
about
scoring
him.
keeper in the game. Their fixtures are never bad, but never great. It's consistently average. But then I think for Leno, particularly longer term,
Stick him along.
that's fine. And I might go with him, and it will look wrong because it's Newcastle away. But
After that,
with a goalkeeper, that's not a short-term decision, right? It's just, right, he's my guy. That's where I'm putting my hat for till April, basically.
Agreed. Luton 1, Man City 2. They managed to get over the line without the Norwegian robot in the end. But, yeah, Kenilworth is proving to be a difficult place for anybody and everybody to go
Well, they've
to.
taken the lead against the three best teams in the league there.
Yeah.
Liverpool, Arsenal and Manchester City.
They didn't take the lead against your team or mine, James. Just putting it out there.
Your team definitely ain't in the best three in the league, and it'll probably take mine a couple more years to get to that point as well. But I think we might under Big
Keep that clip.
Postecoglou.
Keep that clip.
For a couple of years. Yeah, keep that for a couple of years. Yeah, look, good from Luton. Obviously got their own injury problems. Oshu played well against Arsenal, missed out. Lockyer come back in. To use Giles at wing back, left wing back. It feels like Rob Edwards hasn't really wanted to use him, despite the fact his delivery is really good. With Issa Kabore ineligible and having to move Amari Bell back to centre back. Ross Barkley played well again. Obviously had a huge impact and involvement in the goal. I think Edison should come and catch the cross, by the way, that Adebayo scores. Lands on top of him. Come on, goalkeeper. You're not 5'4". Come and do something about it, mate, in my opinion. Because it goes really high. It's not like Townsend whips it fast. It's got a big loop on it. I want my goalkeeper to come and get that, personally. Adebayo does seem like he's got favouritism over Morris now. And I'll repeat what I said on Friday that Dan Ashby, our Luton correspondent, had said. The decision was becoming close between those two. And it might be that Adebayo's nicked ahead. And he is obviously an enabling price. What is he, Such?
Adebayo is, 4.9. Very
4.9.
cheap.
So, if you need a cheaper forward, I probably couldn't make the case to pick that over
Go
Semenyo.
5.2 or something.
Go Semenyo, I
Raul
think.
Jimenez or something.
Would still be the one for me at that price. But they can take a lot of heart after this week, Luton. They've obviously chased the ball a lot for a couple of games. That's the worst of it out the way now. Now they'll come into some fixtures where they'll start knowing they want to pick up some points. Interestingly, I think that probably
a lot of away games for them, though. Bournemouth, Sheffield United, Burnley, 3 of the next 5 are all away.
Yeah, Bournemouth doesn't look so good now, does it?
But then Newcastle, Chelsea at home, they'll make it tough for them.
Yeah, and I think this is the key point on Newcastle, where I've said, because I think looking from the past into game week 18, we'd have gone Villa at home to Sheffield United, definitely, and that's not changed even with Chris Wilder back. Tottenham against Everton, still fine, but that looks harder now. It's not like a straightforward Tottenham will just demolish them. And Newcastle at Luton, like you almost know what that game's going to be, right? Now listen, it don't mean it can't be Trippier assists Wilson and they both haul, right, in a 1-0 and you get stuff like that. But I don't see Newcastle going to Luton in game week 18 and going and posting 4-0s and stuff like that.
No one does.
Not at all.
No.
They'll make it physical.
I don't think it'll be a nil. I think Luton will score.
They know what they are. They don't need to apologise for it. I think they're doing really, really well. I think it's looking very tough for that bottom 3 to see how they stay up. But I also think they're doing pretty well at the moment. Part of the problem is Everton, right? You need like Forest or something to drag in. Those 3 teams in the bottom would have looked at what Bournemouth have done recently and gone, what the hell? Because a month ago they'd have been going, Bournemouth's the target.
With us, yeah,
right?
in this.
Bournemouth's away. They're going away, and I think they'll keep getting good results, Bournemouth.
Wildcard on City, talk to me. Haaland obviously is Haaland. We know what that is. Then you got Alvarez.
Bro, this flies upside down on the table. It's out. It's out. It's dead. Nico, can we get a zoom in? Oh, and it's just flown off.
It was playing dead.
It's going to land on my head or something. Look, the idea always would have been wildcard 19, get free City. And I think even though it now strongly looks like game week 20 probably won't happen for the City-Brentford game, it is still possible, by the way, but it's extremely unlikely now at this stage. It would have been, right, I want free. It's complicated by Kevin De Bruyne is close, we think, and not for this weekend, but by the time 1920 comes round, the game at 20 suddenly could be a good game to give Kevin De Bruyne an hour, right? Couldn't it? All of a sudden, that really impacts Alvarez or impacts Foden. I want a defensive City player on wildcard. I really do, which might sound bonkers at the minute. The one I would really like to get, and I would really love to punt, and I know
John Stones.
Yeah, you've got it in one. John Stones.
He's going to stay John Stones. He's getting minutes again.
Yeah, obviously only a sub yesterday. I think he's being protected. Like, do I think he plays all games over Christmas and stuff? No. Do I think he's absolutely integral to them? Yeah, massively. And I think it might be the sort of one that if I set up properly, I can punt him and leave myself with better cover elsewhere. So if the worst happens, okay, fine. We'll have to look at that. So I'm interested in him. Cole Walker is the safe play. And I may bottle that. But I would like to go John Stones because I think there's a lot more prospect and potential in that offensively. So John Stones and Walker are under consideration for me. I think the others, Aki Gvardio, it's like toss a coin who plays. Bernardo Silva is not impossible.
You don't want to go there, man.
I'm blaming Newcastle's
surely.
poor showing yesterday for this cough.
Bernardo Silva for what?
Well, I think he plays the majority of the games. And that's
yeah, he
important
will, and
over
he'll
this
chip
period.
away. He'll do like that. You know, Gundo goes on that. Gundog used to go on that run around this kind of time where you're just like, he's just the least fashionable, ends up scoring 4 in 5 or something. Of course, I totally get that. Bernardo Silva could do the same thing that Ilkay Gundogan has done before.
Yesterday, they played with Kovacic and Rodri, right? And obviously with Akanji not playing either, they didn't have anything step out from centre-back. Gvardio and Walker playing like normal fullbacks. Fucking hell. Sorry.
It's okay. Take your time.
So Silva's obviously played in the top line. Now, I think even when Stones comes back in, he'll join Rodri, so he still plays quite high. So Foden would be a tough one. You could go Foden. There's every chance he doesn't play. So it might just be, it could be none. Unbelievably.
Yeah, crazy. Let's wrap up, James. We got one more game to talk about, which you were at, which I didn't see come in, to be honest with you. But
Sorry,
obviously, Newcastle having to play their B team gave you a chance, and they. What happened in this game?
That's Newcastle's A team, mate.
As
they've got no B team. That's the problem for Newcastle.
You had an XG of nearly 4.
Yeah.
23 shots. 7 big chances in a game. I don't think I've seen 7 big chances in a game for a long time.
I don't know. Manchester
18
United
shots
had against
inside the
Chelsea
box.
at the weekend, but it was close. United might have had more, you know.
Last week, big chances.
Wednesday,
I don't think
maybe.
it was 7. I will have a look, though. All you can say, based on all of the stats and the scoreline and the XG and the heat maps and everything, is comprehensive 4-1 win.
Yeah, it was, and very pleased, obviously, for fantasy reasons as well. I can't think it's ever happened before where Tottenham players have saved my game week, actually, literally.
Yeah, it's mad.
I mean, imagine if they'd kept that clean sheet. What would have been 40 points from the 3 players without captaincy?
Man United only had 5 big chances against Chelsea, James, and Chelsea also had 5 big chances in that game.
Did they really? It didn't feel
Yeah,
like
that's an XG of 4.17 versus 1.5 in that game, but 5 and 5 big chances.
Let's talk Newcastle first, because you know me, I'd like to talk about Tottenham, and I might have got rid of my cough by then. So they've obviously gone with the same team, which is understandable. Kieran Trippier is obviously now suspended for the Fulham game, so at least you know he's going to get a break. I don't think that guarantees that Livramento plays all the games now.
No.
I think Lewis Hall probably plays against Fulham. Livramento plays right back. But then Livramento might get a rest for Luton or something else afterwards. For Jamal Lascelles owners, there has to be an awareness of Botman being close. Fabian Schär feels like the safe play because he is playing every game. But you do look at Livramento, Lascelles and Dubravka and think, well, surely I can save some money if I want Newcastle. And the next 3 fixtures are really good. I'm not certain to go with any Newcastle offensive player. Wilson being back obviously muddies for Isak, who... I mean, they ended up moving Isak to the left yesterday and Gordon up front during the second half just to shove things about. It didn't work for them. I think there's always the danger with Isak that could happen, that he ends up on the left now that Wilson's back. I thought Almiron looked like more like erratic old Almiron yesterday. And I've spoken him up as a real kind of differential versus to Gordon recently. So Gordon, I think offensively, is still the one to consider. He's going to be borderline. I'm not certain on him at all, actually. I won't make a decision on that till after Milan's gone. You got to think he's playing 90 minutes again against Milan on Wednesday. Like, could they look at Fulham therefore and then go, oh, right, so we'll make a change here. We'll stick something back in. Or, you know, could they even play Matt Ritchie against Fulham? That's part of the problem Newcastle have had as well. They've had difficult fixtures as well over this really this period of injuries.
1-0 on PSG as well.
Well, Milan Wednesday night.
Milan, sorry.
Obviously, if they lose, they're out of Europe completely. If they draw, they're in Europa. If they win, they're in the Champions League. If PSG don't win in Dortmund, I still think there's every chance they'll go through, actually. But they might also, if they don't score early, they might get done over through fatigue on the counter-attack later in the game. I think it's possible. They look a tired team, and that's perfectly understandable. The loss of Pope is massive. It's massive. Doesn't mean Dubravka's a bad pick in goal, though. He's still one of the best set-up teams defensively. But there's a knock-on impact to that too. Is Trippier worth that money longer term, etc.? You know what he is offensively, but if you're looking at them going, well, I think they're going to concede every week, does that become worth the money?
That's what I'm willing to answer. I'm willing to sell Trippier for Porro this week. And then look at that Luton away game and think, are they really going to keep a clean sheet? Probably not. So then I'm reliant on Trips' attacking returns. Let it go. So I might let Trips go for a little while.
I think Dubravka will come with me. I think. But it's not a certainty, honestly. Because I'm aware, looking at those fixtures with Newcastle, you think, next 3 is great. In playing in all of them. But there's a different keeper I want after that. I think. So he's not a definite. Lascelles, I think I've got a cut. Because in any case, Botman's going to be back soon at some point, and he'll come in for him. Livramento is a maybe. And Gordon, that's it. They're the only few really under consideration. For me, Tripp suspension comes at a time you go, I've got to leave that.
You can avoid it, yeah.
I think so.
Spurs, you sticking with the same 3?
No, I think I'm going to cut Udogie, actually.
I thought you might cut one of the defensive. Are you going to add a third, though, or just let it go?
The 4 yellows is off-putting. And by the way, Christian Romero's landed on 4 yellows now, and he should have been sent off yesterday.
Yeah, I heard he's back to his brain-dead self again.
3-0 up as well, mate.
I don't trust him.
Can't defend it. Sorry. I'm sorry that he wasn't sent off. But a 4-game ban if he was sent off, mate. Bloody hell, what are you doing?
I know,
just let him go.
He wants Christmas off to chill with his family. He can go back to Argentina, sit on the beach, or go wherever he wants to, eat steak. He wants. Do you remember he got that suspension before the World Cup, so that he had a couple of weeks off before he went to the World Cup last year as well? I remember you were a bit sus about him then. He knows when to time his suspensions.
I don't know if there was a Callum Wilson thing going on yesterday.
With him and Romero?
Well, obviously Wilson came on late in the game.
Yeah.
Romero's done him. Vicario was pulling faces at him.
At Wilson?
Yeah, which Wilson thought was really disrespectful. But it's okay for Wilson to talk disrespectfully about fellow players. So you can't have it both ways. I listened to Wilson last week, and he was saying the first thing that he does when they get on the pitch, right, is just fucking run into the centre half. Like it's 6 of one, half a dozen of another. He's like, as a striker, you step on their feet, you back into them, you run into them, and what the central defenders do, same thing. No.
So it's 6 of one, half a dozen. Yeah,
I'm not defending Romero in any way. Please understand that. I'm saying that because of the comments he made about Richarlison.
Yep. But he didn't say anything about Richarlison. Antonio did.
But he was still a part of it. They might have been looking for him.
Yeah, but so if I now cuss out Romero for being an idiot, you're still part of it.
What?
If I now abuse Romero, I say Romero's an idiot. He's a redhead.
He's an idiot.
Are you then by association a part of the same slagging off of Romero? You can have your own opinion, right? He didn't necessarily cuss out Richarlison. It was Antonio. He just laughed along at the joke. So I wouldn't say he called out Richarlison, but also
Antonio couldn't be got on Thursday because he didn't turn up. I
think there's a difference between facts and pulling faces, but I didn't see these faces. What was he doing, pulling faces? It sounds like 5-year-olds in the playground.
Wilson had a header and he went straight to Vicario, and Vicario ran out as if he was going to throw the ball somewhere. And as he did it, he was like in his face.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it was playground stuff.
But it's clearly because Wilson said something back.
I don't know if they were trying. What I'm saying is, I don't know if they were trying to get at him or wind him up because of the stuff that happened with Richarlison. I don't know. I
don't think so. I think it would have been in the game, in the moment.
But part of that is because I can't explain what Romero's done there yesterday. It's honestly, it's idiotic, and he's potentially letting his teammates down again massively. It's a red card. I don't know how he gets away with it. And we can't
because there's bias towards the top six, mate.
We can't do without him. There were a number of Tottenham players who were exceptional yesterday after difficult nights on Thursday. Ben Davies' distribution in the second half was brilliant. I spoke about this on one of the pods last week, saying you'll be surprised at Ben Davies' distribution now Romero's back, because against City, they shoved everything to Emerson, and the natural thing to think, well, Romero's back, we'll shove everything to Davies. Davies' distribution was excellent, and obviously had a pivotal... Well, probably the pivotal moment in the game where he's got a little touch that denied Isak an open goal, basically, at 0-0, and then the game could be very, very different from there if that goes in. I'll come back onto Pedro Porro because that could be an hour. Bissouma, much better second half. Pap Sarr's return, huge for us. Energy and legs back in the midfield when it's looked a tired team recently. I thought he was great for first game back. That's one people have forgotten about recently. Big plus for us. Porro...
Playing well.
I think he's playing better than well, mate. Absolute baller at the moment. Defensively playing well. Offensively ridiculous. Could have had a mega haul yesterday. He's a certainty for me on Wildcard. No doubt about it. He's probably the first name near enough. It's absolute certainty. And with him, particularly while Maddison's out as well, know that Tottenham will concede dumb goals like yesterday, but he's still going to be worth having, I think. Offensively, it's definitely worth the extra on Udogie. I know Udogie scored yesterday, but it's definitely worth the extra. He's coming for Pedro. Tottenham could have a bad problem with Udogie and Romero get injured, suspended at the same time, because obviously they're both on 4 yellows. I mean, if that's Brighton away, we would be in huge trouble in that fixture as a note. Sonny on the left. So Richarlison did fine up front. He's scored 2 goals. That's his first goals he scored for Tottenham with his feet. Did you know that?
Okay. Did he keep his shirt on?
Yes, he kept his shirt on.
Okay, I'll DM Antonio.
Yes, he was definitely onside
for funny for both Antonio. Goals. My mate messaged me yesterday, really randomly. This is completely distracted. I was at the Juice tournament, and my mate Alex Fernandez, who's a big FPL guy as well, he said, "Found your boy." That was literally his 3 words in his WhatsApp message to me. I was like, found your boy. What kind of, like, my children are at home with my wife. I'm here at FPL. Which boy of mine have you found? And I said, who? And he just sent me this photograph of, he was there with Mikel Antonio. Oh, God. And there's a third guy in the photo who's a random Sikh guy with a massive beard and turban and stuff. I'm like, that's someone famous as well? I don't know who that is.
Okay, great.
Anyway.
I'm very pleased for this shit nonsense you chose to share for no reason. We
were just talking about Mikel Antonio.
So, San on the left. On Friday's pod, I said, if he plays
shirt taken off, that's why we're talking about it. Antonio. Richarlison didn't take his shirt off for his goals.
He didn't take his shirt off. Okay.
There's a few questions on Twitter, by the way. I'll just chuck them out there. Can Richarlison cover Son?
No.
Points-wise for FPL.
I might go Richarlison on Wildcard.
Short term.
It's just a rogue one. Like, fuck it, yeah. Sod it.
If
he's going to play there, he's interesting.
I've got Phil Foden, and obviously I want to cut down my City players for 18. I did look at Foden to Richarlison just for a short-term punt. Why not have a go for a couple of weeks, see what happens kind of thing. But it really would be that. It wouldn't be like this strategic masterclass of FPL management. It literally just having a punt on Richie.
So, Sonny on the left. Okay. I said on Friday's pod, if he plays there, forget it. It's not an option. When the game started yesterday, I thought, well, he ain't coming with me on my wild card. He's going. He's going to be the easy one that allows me to keep Saka, Bowen, whatever. I don't want him. Don't want him if he's going to play there. And it might be that I changed my mind on that. I obviously can't sell him at this moment, right? I'm up like 0.4 on him. He's going to get steamed into this week after the return. The fixtures are good. I can't get rid of him, can I? No way. So how did the returns come? And why did it happen? And will it keep happening? So I don't know if it was a one-off to play against Trippier. Because Trippier had a difficult game Thursday night. And Son obviously knows him and his weaknesses well, right? And it's bad, both goals, but particularly the second one. To be honest, on the second goal, Trippier's pathetic. Let's mark it outright. It's pathetic. So I don't know if it was a let's target him. And also a little bit of having an aerial presence with Richarlison, if needed, through the centre of the pitch. And also acknowledging that Richarlison did look better in terms of his movement yesterday. Because he had been playing the majority of this season with an injury. And I'm prepared, Richie. I'm here for it. I'm prepared to give you one more chance. But I also wouldn't be shocked if on Friday night at Forest, Richarlison's on the left and Son's up front. I wouldn't be shocked, honestly. Also, obviously, the final goal for Son comes with him. He's moved back through the middle. And that's the big thing for me that would perhaps be most interesting here as well. Is there also an idea here of using Son on the left in an opening, let's say, hour, 70 minutes, and when teams are tiring, having Sonny back through the middle as a different challenge? And that alone would still make him interesting. So I think you need to be aware of Son's positioning. I think it could become a problem. It's not at the moment. I probably wouldn't steam into buying him if I didn't own, actually. Because I'd be a bit concerned about that. Like, if you've got major midfield problems, cool. But if your midfield's all right at the moment, I'd probably look at fixing different problems.
I'd probably hold off till 18.
Like, what's your thinking with him? Because you ain't got, have you?
I sold him a while ago. I'm going to let it go this week. And if I like what I see this week, then I'll get him in for Foden for 18 and then decide where I'm going to go from there. Because I'm going to downgrade Trippier to Porro. That frees me up a little bit of money. And I'm highly likely to sell Haaland for Solanke. So money's less of an issue for a little while, I would say. So I think I'm going to go back to Sonny. I'm definitely going to get a way of getting Porro in. I don't need a third Spurs asset. I just don't need the third Spurs asset.
No, I think for anyone wildcarding this week, Porro's Son is definite.
Yep.
The third, I won't rule it out going back to Doggy. And that's if I'm not happy enough with enough defensive options. You know what I mean? Say these Stones is like a no, you can't go there, and you don't want to go for Kyle Walker instead. Or, I don't know, something happens to Pau Torres, or I can't decide on a Newcastle asset. It might be that I go there because I still think at his value as well. Like, that's a great option. It's just Porro, in my opinion, is definitely worth paying the extra. The third, if I go for a third, it's most likely to be Richarlison. The Chelsea obviously didn't play yesterday, and the team had a little bit more energy. The link of the team still worked because Kulusevski in the 10 position played really well. Couldn't justify Kulusevski over Johnson or Richarlison. Richarlison over Johnson, I think, on the off chance that he stays through the middle. The other thing to factor is the next four, I think, are decent as a group. Forest, Everton, Brighton and Bournemouth, right? There's goals in there, I think. Might not be any clean sheets in there, by the way, but there's goals in there, I think. Now, if I go Sonny, which I'm obviously going to do, when I take him out, then I do know that Richarlison's playing number 9 if he's fit. And there's a few more games in January. Son might only miss 3 games, but he's United away, Brentford at home, and then the return against Everton. It's not terrible. And I might suddenly... I don't think it's one others can go for, but it's the sort of one for me on Wildcard. I think I might consider it and I might punt it. And I'd probably rather do that at the moment than punt a Chelsea player. That's my feeling right now.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with
as
you.
much as he pissed me off to hell, I might chance him. Richie.
Nice. Let's. He's not quite a doner kebab transfer. He's maybe more a chicken shish, I would say. The chances of him pissing you off are like 25%.
The chances of him pissing me off are greater than the chance of him getting injured. Whereas Leon Bailey, I think, is only going to piss me off if he's injured. If Leon Bailey is sat on that bench for Aston Villa on Thursday night, he comes back in for me again, I think. I'll go for it.
Big stuff going on with James' Wildcard. Wildcard release will be Friday. Differential show, we'll talk about it. Release. As in your final draft wildcard. We'll talk about it on the differential on Friday.
I can't confirm it because it's Friday deadline, isn't it?
A little bit. Oh, it is. Who's playing Friday night this week?
We are.
Oh, okay. Who have you got?
Forest away.
Lovely jubbly. James, let's get into some of the questions that we've had in on X. But before we do you want to tell everybody what we've got to look forward to for the rest of the week? And then, there's a couple of questions here on Twitter, and they're all non-football related.
Okay,
so cool. I'm ready.
Clash of correspondence tomorrow is Chelsea versus Sheffield United with Gary Mantle and Ben Tomo Thompson. Wednesday, Ian Parron is joining me for the Sky Fantasy Football podcast this week. Thursday is going to be a People's Poll podcast. Topics not decided yet, but it might be a bit more my wild card, maybe. Friday, Ask James. It will be in the morning. I don't know what time yet, because it depends what time Suj wants to do the differential show with me, which will be our Patreon pod on Friday. Q&A today for patrons. Tomorrow, UCL Fantasy Preview with James Johnson, Match Day 6. Dan Locke is doing a quiz on Boxing Days in the Premier League, or I think in the Premier League, it didn't specify that, on Wednesday. We'll do Tottenham Thursday this week. That's because you're pissing off to other work events Tuesday and Wednesday this week. Yeah,
I was going to ask you if we wanted to pre-record, but Thursday's good for me.
Thursday's good. Advanced tier content will include, as I said, Team News Stream Friday, a look at Fulham and what's happening there for talking tactics this week, and I'll be doing a piece on my wildcard tomorrow once I've had a little bit more time to look at it and kind of initial ideas, because I've more been looking at the games and reacting to that at the moment and trying to get rid of shouting too much yesterday.
Been a bit of a mad one, isn't it? The last couple of this, it feels like obviously we just finished fixtures. We got a whole stack of European stuff. You've got your wild card going on. It's a lot going on at the moment. A lot going on.
Got any questions?
Let's
if you want to support the show, www.patreon.com/FPL.
Yes, go to Patreon. You can sign up. At the moment, for the whole of December, if you're at the basic plus tier, which is just the $5, you get all of the intermediate tier podcasts. If you sign up intermediate tier, you get all of the advanced tier content as well, plus the fixture planning spreadsheets and all the other stuff that goes with it. 2 questions, James.
Go on.
The first goes to Cone, who says, aside from pineapple, what other 2 toppings would you rate in the top 3 most disgusting toppings for a pizza? So, I don't mind pineapple on pizza. I don't mind it. I wouldn't particularly choose it.
Olives.
Yeah. They're a bit hit and miss. I'm not a fan of olives on pizza. The one that I always find weird is when I see fish or prawns.
Ooh, good shout.
You see tuna or anchovies or prawns on pizza. I don't think any seafood should be on a pizza.
Yeah, I'm with that.
Pineapple, I don't mind. What else don't you like on pizzas?
Yeah, seaweed's all right, though. If we get a right type pizza.
Yeah, potentially. Do you know what my youngest really likes on his pizza now that he's noticed?
My mum's just gone, when the fuck have you had seaweed, James?
My youngest likes a fried egg on his pizza right now. Ham, egg, and olives. So you don't
egg
like
on
olives.
pizza?
Ham, egg.
No, I'm not having that. No, I'm not having that.
But I'm going to go and say pineapple is okay, actually, on pizza, James.
I'm not having that either.
You don't like pineapple?
That shit.
Pineapple's all right. But it depends what other toppings are going with it. No. You wouldn't have pineapple and pepperoni,
I'm not having it, mate. Not having it.
Javo's got the last question of the show, James.
Nico, do you want a pizza? I might order a pizza, you know. Yeah? Dick it him, yeah. Are you paying? Hey, Nico, how many FPL points did you get this week? 21.
Oh, ouch. Javo, how early is too early for people to say Merry Christmas to you? We're 2 weeks out, James.
If someone said it to me, if I walked in the office and someone went, Merry Christmas, James, I'd be like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So if someone says, if a thing ain't going to see you before and they say, I hope you have a good Christmas, like that's cool.
Fine. Like yesterday when when we were leaving the juice tournament, there's a lot of lads there. I'm not going to see them now the rest of this year, right? I might not see Sham and Keith and all these guys before the end of the year. So I'm like, look, have a great Christmas break and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas and all that to you and your family. I think that's cool, right? But if you're going to see them, I think you just kind of say Merry Christmas the last time you're going to see someone before Christmas.
I think, to be honest with you, the acceptable time to start saying it to people was Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
Like, if you're not going to see someone, you say, I hope you have a good Christmas, that's fine. If you're literally seeing someone, you say Merry Christmas. Christmas Eve is the first acceptable day.
Yeah. Okie dokie, there you go. There is your answer. That's it. That's a wrap. Plenty of content coming at you. Make sure you're subscribed wherever you are listening to this podcast, and you'll get notified as soon as the next episodes go live. Other than that, we just got to stay safe, look after yourselves. Ciao for now.
I'm off to have some tablets, some throat soothers, and a pizza without pineapple. Have a great week, everyone. Play it your way. And especially if you're on Wildcard, definitely play it your own way. Cue music, please. Manchild.
Sadie.
Fucking hell, sorry.
That's all right. Wish you could take a break next time and just stop.
Probably.